Welcome to Missouri Sports Talk. I'm your host, Cameron Staley, and today we have small school predictions. 8-man, Class 1, Class 2, and Class 3 today. So I'm going to expand for this one to 12 games instead of 6 per class. So we've got 12 in all 4 of these classes that we're going over tomorrow. 12 games in Class 4, 5, and 6. So, we're in the playoffs, so there's 16 games in each class this week. Then it goes back down to 8. So, the football coverage will start to thin back down, and it'll actually get smaller here in a few weeks. But then once we get to basketball, I will be doing 12 games per class. So I chose a random and not the greatest time to transition into 12 games because now this is the only week that I can predict 12 games. It is what it is, though. Let's go ahead with the first 8-man scoreboard. Rockport, 8-1 this season. They're playing really well. They're playing Tarkio coming off of a playoff win in the first round. I do think that Rockport gets this one done, though. Hardin Central is hosting 3-7 Wellington Napoleon. I don't know necessarily if that game will be close, so I will take Hardin Central. And by the way, also, I am probably not going to do point totals for a little bit. Let me know if that's a problem, though. If you guys do want those point totals, I will. But, I feel like that's not always the biggest demand. I feel like it's more important that I give the prediction of who I think is going to win rather than the amount of points. So let me know if you want that to return, though. Archie and Rich Hills will return for the third game. Archie, defending state champions in 8-man football. I think they make it back to the championship game. So that starts with a win over Rich Hill. I don't necessarily think that they'll defeat Bramer, but I do think that they make it out of the left side of the bracket. North Shelby versus Knox County. North Shelby sitting at 5-4. Knox County at 4-5. Maybe not the most entertaining game in the world. I think this is probably the weakest district in 8-man. I believe North County is the 1 seed North County. I just combined both of them. North Shelby is the 1 seed. And then Paris and Schuyler County, the 2 and the 3. So we will get to that game later, but I do think that North Shelby gets this one done. Knox County, obviously, coming off a win. They are not 4-5. I think they're 5-5. I'm sorry for that. They're unless they had a bye. I don't think they had a bye. I think Knox County won that, so Knox County is supposed to be 5-5. I'm sorry about that. North Shelby, like I said, North Shelby is going to win that one. West Nodaway versus North Andrew. I just said in my video earlier today, North Andrew's quarterback, he was the player of the week, or first ever Missouri Sports Talk player of the week. I don't think North Andrew gets this one done, though. I like how the Rockets are playing this year. They are 8-1, so I think they make it out of this one, make it to the district championship game. Our 8-man game of the week obviously has to be Platte Valley versus Worth County. Worth County is coming off a win in the first round of the playoffs. One of the only good teams in 8-man to play in the first round. Lots of bye weeks. So they have to go to Platte Valley. 8-1 football team. Rockport's only loss. I think that Platte Valley continues to roll. Even with that week off, I don't think they'll come out cold. I think they are able to beat Worth County. All right, time for the second 8-man scoreboard. We will start with Albany and King City. King City sitting at 5-5. Albany, they are undefeated. I believe they're 2 or 3 in the media polls. I think the Warriors get this one done. Plattsburgh, they're having a pretty rough year. They're sitting at 5-4 right now, if I'm not mistaken. And they are playing St. Joseph Christian. I honestly do not know much about the Lions, so I will take Plattsburgh to win on the road in this one. Like I said, having a rough year, but I think they at least pick up a playoff win. New Heights, they are being hosted by Greenfield. Greenfield's a solid football team. They're 5-3. They had a bye week in the middle of the season, so they didn't get to the nine game threshold. New Heights, they won this past week. They're sitting at 6-4. I think they're a solid football team. Give me the New Heights Cougars winning on the road. Northwest versus Slater. Slater's pretty rough last year, if I'm remembering correctly. Not the greatest football team. Northwest, they're sitting at 6-3. Slater sitting at 6-4. Both of them are solid teams, but, home field advantage is going to be pretty big here. I think Northwest, the home team, ends up getting this one done. Appleton City versus Drexel is going to be really fun. I think these teams played earlier on in the season. Appleton City won the first time. I think they win again the second time. Drexel, I'm predicting them to end off their season at 5-5. Appleton City would continue to roll at 8-2. I think they would have to play Archie in this next one, which I am keeping my eye on to go to potentially. I won't speak on that any further because obviously it's playoffs, so I don't really know what's going on next Friday, but that's one that I'm excited for. If Appleton City and Archie play, there's a pretty high chance that I go. What else? Let's see. I think the last one that I need to predict, Paris and Schuyler County. Paris sitting at 6-3. I believe they're 2 seed in the district. And Schuyler County, the 3 seed in the district, they are 5-4. I think Paris wins a second time around. These two teams played in Week 9, and they honestly, both of them thought that this was going to be a game for the District 1 seed for the bye. But Paris ends up winning, but they had lost to North Shelby, so North Shelby jumps them. But if Schuyler County would have beat Paris in Week 9, then Schuyler County would have had the 1 seed. But instead they lose, so they get the 3 seed. Oh man, and Schuyler County also beat North Shelby as well. So it's a jumbled mess there in that district. But I do think the Coyotes win this one at home. They've been rough for a few years, and they've turned it around. They've got 6 wins this season. Give me a 7th win for them. Class 1 scoreboard now. We'll go to our first one. 6-3 Charleston versus 1-8 Chaffee. I think you guys know how I'm going with this one. Give me Charleston at home. West Strand, they're playing Cole Camp. Cole Camp with their first win of the season this past week over Russellville. They were 0-9. Now they are 1-9. So, it's improvement. It is. So it could be worse. They could have ended their season 0-10. But here they are in the second round of the playoffs playing West Strand. I do think the Hornets get it done, though. Tipton, they are rolling. Their only loss to Class 2 Dynasty, Lamar. And, Lamar's been dealing with some injuries this year. We will get to them later. Like I've said almost every single week, not having the greatest year for Lamar football standards. They are 6-4 right now, though. But anyways, Tipton, 8-0 besides, that real tough team there in Class 2. Crestridge, they're sitting at 3-7, so I feel like it's very obvious that I'm taking Tipton. Marionville versus Miller. Marionville, the defending Class 1 state champions. I think they do it again. So obviously that starts with beating Miller this week. Vanfar versus Haiti on Saturday. I probably would have gone if I didn't have work. Now, obviously, I've got work, so I can't go to it. I would have, though. I'm telling you. Sorry to get everyone's hopes up. I would have gone. But Haiti sitting at 4-5, Vanfar sitting at 7-2. I think Vanfar gets this one done quite easily. Adrian versus Lincoln. Adrian sitting at 8-1. I believe they have a win over Lafayette County, if I'm not wrong, or maybe that was Warsaw. It was one of the other, or maybe Adrian beat Warsaw. Warsaw beat Lafayette County. I don't know. There's another kind of thing going on right there as well. But Lincoln sitting at 5-5. I think Adrian wins this one. Class 1 scoreboard number 2. Salisbury versus Marceline. Marceline not having a good year if we're going to be upfront with it. 4-5. They just got killed by Brookfield this past week. I think Salisbury takes advantage of that. They're 7-2. Give me an 8th win for the Panthers. Ashgrove versus Midway. Midway's a solid team sitting at 5-4. Ashgrove, they're better though, if we're going to be honest. But they've been in a lot of one-score games with some tough teams, and then they've won close to teams that they probably should have won by a lot more with. The scoring isn't necessarily there for the Pirates, but they've got a good defense, so I think they beat Midway this week. Putnam County versus Scotland County. I think that Putnam County gets it done. I believe these two teams played in Week 9, if I'm not wrong. I could be wrong about that, but I think they played in Week 9. And, Scotland County, I believe they've been dealing with a few injuries here and there as well. I think that, they end the season 4-6. I'm not too confident in them this week. Milan versus North Platte. Milan's playing solid this year. I've actually got them. I believe I have them going to the Final Four and losing to Tipton. North Platte sitting at 1-8 this year. They made it to state last year, lost to Marionville. So coming off of a runner-up season, North Platte is sitting at 1-8. So, they've always had that upside this whole entire year, but they just haven't lived up to last season. And I don't think it starts this week. That would be a pretty crazy run to start really late in the season if they were to do that. But I think Milan ends up winning this game at home. Polo, they are being hosted by West Platte. This is one that people didn't like in my bracket. I'm taking Polo to win this game. I'm taking the upset. It's 100% an upset. Polo's sitting at 5-4, and West Platte sitting at 4-5. So if you're looking at the records, it's not an upset, but I think West Platte, honestly, they may be the better team. I do think that Polo gets it done. I don't know. It's a weak district in the bottom right of the bracket in Class 1. Penny is the 1 seed. They're 5-4. So I have Milan making it out. Milan honestly should have been the 1 seed. But I have to take an upset somewhere in the bracket, right? So give me Polo. Windsor versus Pierce City is our Class 1 game of the week. The Greyhounds sitting at 7-2. Luckily, they had a bye this past week because they had a bad loss in week 9 to Butler. I believe it was 14-6. Pierce City, they've been up and down. They're sitting at 6-3. I thought they were going to lose pretty badly in week 9, and they ended up having a really solid win. So, one team's coming off a loss, one team's coming off a win. I do think that Windsor is able to win, though. Class 2 scoreboard. We'll start with Pembroke Hill versus Butler. Like I said, Butler coming off a week 9 win over Windsor. But, Pembroke Hill is sitting at 9-0. I think they win this game. Liberty Mountain View versus Houston. This is one of my district champion runner-ups that I lost. I lost 2 district champion runner-ups. I've got everybody else at the moment. But, Houston defeated Ava. I had Ava moving on through this game as well. But I'm going to continue to bet against Houston if we're going to be honest. They're sitting at 6-4. They just haven't convinced me. So give me Liberty Mountain View here. Caruthersville versus East Prairie is interesting. 9-1 versus 8-2. 2 very good records. Caruthersville, they're just playing really good this year. So I think they move to 10-1. Lafayette County versus South Callaway. I got to see South Callaway last week, and they played really good against North Callaway. It was a better second half than it was first half, but they shut down North Callaway in the second half. So, but they had to play Lafayette County, and Lafayette County sitting at 8-1 right now. They are explosive. I think that Lafayette County makes it far this year. I think they lose in the state quarterfinals to Fair Grove, but that's a game for another time. I think Lafayette County wins this game. Father Tolton versus Centralia is an interesting one. These two teams, mid-Missouri schools, they're playing really solid this year. Centralia is sitting at 7-3. They are on the road in Fulton, playing 8-2 Father Tolton. Now the Trailblazers, I got to see them against Kip Casey Legacy. They ended up actually winning that game. Sam Ryan is a dog. I think that Tolton ends up winning this game. I don't want to say that they win it easy. I think this will be a gritty battle. If I were to put a point total on it, I'd say they win in the 10 to 14 point range. Fairgrove versus Thayer. Fairgrove is my state championship pick, so obviously that gives it away. I'm taking Thayer here. I think this is going to be a fun game, but, if Thayer gets it done, I don't know who I'd pick as my state champs. I think I'd just pivot to Valley Catholic as my state champs if Thayer were to get that one done. Class 2 scoreboard number 2. We'll start with Kip Casey Legacy versus Holden. Just mentioned Legacy, how I got to go see them. I think they actually win this game against Holden. I've had some Holden guys in my TikTok saying that there's no chance Casey wins this game. I think they do, though. I like how Casey's looking. They've got some explosion, and Tolton's defense is good, so they kind of shut them down in that game. There were a few plays where, I got to see that upside that the Gators had, but they just couldn't get it clicking. I think they do it though against the Eagles. Warsaw versus Sarcoxy. Sarcoxy, they're sitting at 6-4, but I don't think they're the most elite team in the world. Warsaw, they are looking good though. Like, they're 9-0. I mean, there's nothing that has stopped Warsaw this year, and they've played some pretty cupcake teams along the way, but then they've also had a few really good wins, so I do think that they defeat Sarcoxy here. Lamar versus Stockton. Stockton's sitting at 8-2, but I don't know. I'm not really that high on them. And Lamar, I'm a broken record. I keep saying it. They're having a down year. Blah, blah, blah. I think they win this game, though. But they have to play Warsaw next week. So, that may end up being a little bit different of a prediction on the Lamar train. Bowling Green versus Jefferson. I have a lot of Jefferson people in my TikTok, actually. A few of them saying, yeah, we're winning a state championship. Pump the brakes. You're playing Bowling Green this week. It's at Bowling Green. They're sitting at 9-1. Give me the Bobcats going to 10-1. I'm sorry to my Jefferson guys. I don't think you all are going to get that one done. Brookfield versus Lawson. Lawson's sitting at 5-5 this year. They're sneaky. They really are. And I did take them losing to South Harrison. They get it done against South Harrison. But I believe that Lawson started off the season with 5 losses, or 4 losses, and then they started rattling off wins once the team got healthy. I think they're dealing with some injuries. So this one could be scary for Brookfield. Brookfield's really going to have to lock in this game. I will take Brookfield. They're sitting at 9-0, but I must say I will not be surprised if Lawson gets that one done. But it is on the road, so I'm going to take the home team Bulldogs there at Burlington Field. Mid-Buchanan versus East Buchanan has to be the Class 2 game of the week. These two teams played in Week 9, and Mid-Buchanan won 7-3. It was, defensive, or maybe it was just poor offense, if we're going to be honest. I really considered going to this one. I decided to pivot elsewhere. But, Mid-Buchanan excites me this year. They're a good team. I think that they go far in the tournament. So I think that starts with beating their rival East Buchanan this year. Once again, two times in a row. Bulldogs are having a rough year. They're sitting at 8-2, and that may not sound like a rough year, but this team's always sitting at the top of the media polls and the top of the state. But this year they're not. They had a really bad loss to Savannah. I think the scoreboard would say otherwise, but they hardly even scored in that game. And obviously they lost to Mid Buchanan. Those are there too. So they're losing to good teams, but they're also keeping it close with teams that they shouldn't necessarily. So I will take the Dragons in that one. Class 3 scoreboard. We'll start with Stratford versus St. James. I'm not high on St. James. They're sitting at 4-6, so I will take Stratford here. Odessa versus Summit Christian. This is another one. I'm not super high on Summit Christian. They just beat University Academy 21-12 last week. It should have been a lot more than that. So give me Odessa winning this game. Boonville, they are playing against Knob Noster. This one is to play against Blair Oaks in the district championship game. And, Boonville lost to Blair Oaks 62-0 earlier in the season. So I will take Boonville winning this game. They're sitting at 8-2. Knob Noster just kept it close with Eldon, of all teams. Eldon, I believe, ended their season 3-7 after starting their season off 3-0, actually. So that's not the greatest thing for the Mustangs, but it is what it is there. I think Boonville moves on to 9-2 before they end their season 9-3. Blair Oaks versus Southern Boone. Oh boy, Week 9 rematch. Lots of controversy in that game. DMs filled with some interesting comments from their bar stool saying some interesting things to me. I think the Falcons win this one again. I think they win by a lot. I don't necessarily think that they need Lackman and Dapkus to win the state championship. And obviously, I'm not saying that either of those guys are bad. I think you guys obviously know that I think a lot of those two young men. But, what I mean by that is that they could do it without them. I think they will do it without them. I think Toby will be just fine in the backfield with Tyler as long as Tyler's doing well. And I've said it already. I think that Blair Oaks can literally make it through the right side of the bracket with their backups in. I legitimately think that every single starter could sit and watch the playoffs on the right side and just plug right back into the state championship game. So, give me the Falcons by a lot of points. St. Francis Borgia versus Lift for Life. Wow, this is going to be a big game. Borgia sitting at 9-0, and Lift for Life, yes, they're 5-5, but they've had one of the toughest schedules in all of Missouri. Not just Class 3. I believe they've had the toughest schedule in all of Class 3, but it ranks up there with every single school in Missouri. One of the toughest classes. They're playing a lot of the top schools. Like in Week 9, they played Helias, and they actually almost won. They were up 12-0 at one point, and Helias ends up winning that game 17-12. So, the offense kind of sputtered in that one. But I will take Francis Borgia here. I think they win it. I could see Lift for Life getting this one done, though. I'm not sure how far either of these teams will go. In my bracket, I took Dexter making it to the state championship because I was just trying to play it safe, in all honesty, with Borgia, because I didn't want to take Borgia going to the state championship or the Final Four, and then they lose in the district semifinals to Lift for Life. So I did take Dexter, but Borgia, they could definitely make some noise this year. Mount Vernon versus Mountain Grove. I think this is going to be the Class 3 game of the week. Mountain Grove, I believe they are 10 in the media polls, and Mount Vernon, I think they're ranked. They're sitting in the 6 to 8 range. I'm sorry, I haven't looked at that for a little bit, but I think the Mountaineers win at home. Mountain Grove is a solid team this year, but I've been high on the Mountaineers since the start of the season. They've had some losses that I thought should not have been losses, but I think they get it done this week. Our second Class 3 scoreboard, we'll start with Dexter, as I had already mentioned them going to the state championship game and losing to Blair Oaks. So obviously I'm taking them over 4-6 Fredericktown this week. Richmond versus Cameron. Cameron has had a tough schedule, they have, but I think Richmond is just a better team overall, so I will take the 6-3 Spartans in this one. St. Michael versus Oak Grove. I believe that Oak Grove will win this football game. St. Michael, I believe in Week 9 they had a really ugly loss to Father Tolton. I think I saw a video of some guys throwing some fits on the sideline. I'm sorry for burying St. Michael right now, but I think Oak Grove wins this one. John Burroughs versus St. Clair. John Burroughs having a really good season. They're sitting at 8-2, and they're showing that they're not just a basketball school, and they weren't just a football school when Zeke was around. They're doing really good. I think they defeat St. Clair. Now, next week, it's either Lift for Life or it's St. Francis Borgia. That's not necessarily an easy thing to do, but, the focus is this Saturday for the Bombers. I think they win this game. And Maryville versus Chillicothe. This game already happened this year. Maryville won quite easily, so I think it happens again. Give me the Spoof Hounds. And Central Park Hills, they're playing St. Genevieve. I think this one happened earlier this season as well. And I believe it happened last year in the playoffs, and Central won. I think Central continues to reign that dominance against St. Genevieve. So I believe I got through every single one of those predictions. I hope I didn't miss any of them. If I did miss a prediction and you noticed, I apologize. Please say it in the comments, and then I will give you my thoughts on that one. But that's all for today. Tomorrow, like I said, Class 4, 5, and 6. But that's all for today. This has been Missouri Sports Talk. See you next time.